Hi guys, welcome to Samba Souq, the bridge between Brazil and Middle East and many countries in between. Here we talk about entrepreneurship, global expansion, and a lot of grit, resilience that makes the journeys very inspiring and that we can connect. So I have a very special guest that I'm very happy to announce, which is Omar Al Busaidy. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on Samba Souq.
Yes, I
One of
hope
the
you like
best titles ever. I mean, there couldn't be anything that really symbolizes what the UAE is about, and really the UAE is Samba Souq.
And it's so simple to pronounce, right? Samba
100%.
Souq.
Yeah. No, very, very catchy. I mean, I think this is probably the best name for a podcast ever.
Amazing.
100%. It's very smart.
Soon enough, we're gonna hit the millions, huh?
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Cool. And I'm very happy to have you here because every time that we meet, we know each other for such a long time.
Oh yeah.
Even before you wrote your book, just read it in
Yes.
2015 or so.
Yes.
So we met since that time, but busy life, so we see each other very occasionally, but
Yes.
every time.
I know.
Such a good vibe.
It is always a good vibe. It's always great energy. And honestly, you're one of truly the gems of this country. And I think
wow.
the UAE, alhamdulillah, thank God, was able to attract good people like you. And we hope you stay here for forever.
Oh my God, me too.
Yes.
But I get inspired by, so many people,
Yes.
local culture,
Yeah.
the leadership, of course, of the
Yes,
country. So
of course.
we keep rocking.
Yeah, well, for sure. And again, thank you again for having me on your podcast. Really excited to have this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Omar, so you are an entrepreneur, global thinker, investor. You are in the corporate path as well. So tell us a little bit about your journey very shortly because we have so much to cover.
Yeah. So very quickly, my journey really started just after high school, because after high school, I was a full-time employee and a part-time student. So actually, when I did my bachelor's, it took me 6.5 years to graduate. So at that time, my first job was I was working in banking, and then I moved to the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, and then worked at the British Embassy and several different places. But the thing that really was a major milestone in my life at a very young age, is that I was inspired and more pushed by my uncle to set up a business. He told me, try to do something on the side. It's okay, so you're making this money from work. What are you doing with it? Instead of, it's okay, fine, you can travel, buy yourself some stuff. Because, when I
Live
was
the
younger,
life.
exactly. Yeah, try to enjoy yourself. But then what? So he pushed me to try to take advantage of different entrepreneurial opportunities in Dubai. And also the other thing is, growing up at the time, I mean, till today, Dubai is always buzzing. There's always so many opportunities. And you feel like if you're not gonna ride that wave, you're gonna miss, or the train, you're gonna miss the train. That's it. Yeah, it's crazy. It just kills you. You feel like you feel almost like a bum. You're like the only person in the world that doesn't have something else interesting going on. So I think that kind of, it's not even necessarily called peer pressure. It's just the pressure of being in a dynamic country and city. It forces you to do things, because then you're seeing all these people coming from all over the world, and you're from here, and you're okay, why am I not doing something? And everybody else has a business. So that's what encouraged me to start up my first business back when I was 18. And I had an advertising agency that failed. Then I had a boutique store that failed. I had a gen salon that failed. I had another consulting business that failed.
Oh my God.
So then, it was so, I tried 4 different things until I had the jackpot, and then set up a consulting business, which went very well and still goes on, and since 2021 until now. And there's a team that runs that and everything, so I'm good.
Yeah, you keep trying until you make
100%,
it, right?
Yeah. You kind of master the formula. You get to know okay, this is what I need to put together and make it work, and that's it. I found my calling, and it worked, and
Amazing.
I'm very happy.
And with all this, breakdowns and breakthroughs, what do you see? What is the story that really impacted your life in terms of grit and that shaped you today,
You said something earlier when you introduced the show, talking about resilience. So I think what resonated with me and what I was able to pick up quickly is the resilience of the city and the leadership and the grit that they had, the vision they had, all of these things. There's some people, if you listen to not necessarily a leader, anybody, it can come in here and just get out here.
True.
It's as if you didn't hear at all.
And most of
But
them,
yeah,
to be
a lot of
honest.
people are like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm the kind of person that, you know, if you tell me, don't touch this because it's you'll get burnt. It's hot. I will not do it. That's it. I'll listen. So I'm like that. So I think for me, being a good listener, my family probably would laugh at me like, since when do you listen?
Yeah,
But
we
no,
always say that
I would
we're
say
good
yeah.
listeners.
But I think for some, maybe you know, I'm selective good listener. You
Yeah,
know, so I'm a
yeah.
selective good listener. So some of the things that I listened to is what led me to become like this, to have this grit and also the motivation to do things. And my uncle, because he was really like, till today, he's like a father figure to me. My mom's brother, his name is Isa Rawahi. So Isa, he is he was very he has a very assertive, not aggressive, but assertive energy about him that I would get scared. And I always wanted to make him proud. I always wanted him to be impressed with what I was doing. So I think having this sort of like someone to be accountable
Yeah,
with or
yeah.
to is the reason what let me have this grit, because I wasn't like
Especially
that.
when you are in the beginning or when you were younger, you know, because you always have someone to like, especially family, you know, like I want
Exactly.
them to be proud. I want to prove something.
Exactly.
And I think that over time we feel like, okay, I'm now proving to myself,
Yes.
you know, like
Yes.
I know what it takes.
Exactly.
And that phase for sure,
Yeah.
you had someone to be
Yeah.
accountable.
And then at the same time, it was like making everybody happy, because I'll be very honest with you, Lud, my mom was very anti entrepreneurship.
Oh, really?
She's more about get a job, 9 to 5, finish, come home with your family, and that's it. She doesn't like me taking this risk. And she was losing her mind, because she's always see me come home with a new
Oh,
business card.
mama.
And she's like, see, I told you they would not work. I told you it would not work. Like, she's always like telling me like, you know, things are not going to work. But, you know, in the end, so then actually that's the other reason why I had this like grit or whatever, because it was like, I love proving people wrong. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know,
It's
you
in
tell
the
me it's not
blood,
going to work.
right?
Yeah. I was like,
Entrepreneurs
okay.
have it in the
Yeah,
blood.
yeah. I'm like, you telling me it's not going to work? Okay, I'm going to show you. So I come back until now when it works, I'm like, yeah, mom, she sees what I make. And I'm like, yeah, see what I told you?
Okay,
Yeah, you
okay,
see, like,
yeah.
you know, it's just, you just have to give me a little bit of confidence. But at the same time, you know, I also believe that, you know, you can diversify and everything else, and you can do multiple things. And as long as you give your 100% commitment. So I am 100% committed in the role that I received last year. I'm the president of Future Pipe Industries. It is a company that started locally here, but is global. You know, there's like, it has 13 factories around the world, 50 offices, and almost
Amazing.
4,000 employees. It's an amazing experience to be part of something truly global. You know, and a sector that I've never been in before. They manufacture pipes, fiberglass pipes for
Yeah.
the energy sector, water sector, etc.
Yeah.
So I love that. I learn a lot from them. The leadership, the management is amazing. The team there, everybody's really good.
Amazing.
So being part of a global entity and still like, so I'm serving the companies and the objectives and everything, but at the same time, it's a huge honor to feel like being part of the infrastructure of the country. So
Yeah, true.
we're laying these
And
pipes
sustainable, right?
as
With all
sustainable
the
as well.
impact.
Yeah, because it's fiberglass is better than steel, iron, HDPE, the rest of these
Yeah.
different materials, and working on like infrastructure, not only of the UAE but in other countries as well. You know,
Yes.
even in Latin
This
America.
is a good question, yeah, because you know, as a company, you're expanding to other markets, and you, because of your trajectory that I so much relate,
Yeah.
we had some similar paths along the way.
Yeah.
You worked with so many different countries
Yes.
to do this bridge
Exactly.
between UAE and other markets.
And other markets. Yeah.
US, UK, Latam now, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you see that people get wrong when they want to go to new markets, and especially maybe here in the UAE, as we're talking about the UAE?
You know, I think they say assumption is the mother of all screw ups, right? So there's an assumption sometimes that, okay, yes, there's a buzz, and you see this place, especially the growth is insane. The problem is people assume that, okay, I'll come, I'll present, and I'm gonna be given a check immediately, and it doesn't work like that. yes, it's quick, but it's also slow. It's slow as in trying to be careful to understand who they're being, who they're meeting with, and who's coming to represent them, to represent their business or their service. But at the same time, they're quick. Once they have confidence in you, that's it. They'll immediately say, okay, fine, we want this yesterday. So you're going to have to deliver very quickly. So, but between the introduction and the execution,
Yeah.
there's the part where you need to nurture and build that relationship, and I think that's what makes our cultures very similar between
True.
Latin America and the Middle East. We're very, very similar.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the biggest mistakes, that people assume that if you come here with any idea or whatever, people are going to just say yes. And I think the other thing, there's also another assumption. I have to tell you this, by the way. And I learned this when I was used to work at the British Embassy. And unfortunately, sometimes there is and I'll be frank with you,
Yes. That's why we're here.
sometimes there's a superiority complex,
Mm.
because some people will say, oh, fine, these guys, the Arabs, whatever, they're dressed in this, maybe they didn't get like a progressive education or this, or like they didn't go, like whether you went to a private school or public schools, or even the public schools that are actually pretty good as well,
Mm-hmm.
they assume when they look at us that we don't have some sort of like advanced educational whatever. So when they talk to us, then so because look, when I don't speak English, for instance,
Yeah.
like people immediately assume he probably doesn't,
I know
or if
what
he
you
does,
mean.
it's broken.
Yeah.
But then when they start to
So,
speak,
and if it's broken, there is the
exactly.
superiority
Then
straight
yes,
away.
exactly.
Right?
They assume that you don't have like the technical know-how or something like that, or
Yeah.
anything. So there's that, the superiority complex. Then there's like sometimes arrogance, ignorance. For me, I don't talk about the other accolades. I mean, I'm a Fulbright scholar right now. I'm a Mohammed Rashid scholar. I have a lot of
Yeah.
different things, but I don't usually like. If people find it online, they see it online. But I won't go around telling people like, oh,
I'll
look at
add
all
on
these
this.
things that
Yeah.
I have.
You know what the difference is, I believe, based on what you just said? Because, I've seen so many people coming, and I totally know what you mean. Not only about the language barrier, but also how they portray it, like salespeople, right?
Yeah.
Salesmen, saleswomen coming, like we're the hot thing in the West or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But this doesn't impress local people here.
100%. Yeah.
And they come with this superiority. That's how they do business elsewhere. And that's how they want to impress
Yeah.
the superior people from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But actually, this place, this country, and this nation values, actually, it gives honors to values,
Exactly.
like show me your values, show me your character, the strength of your character.
Yeah.
And then we can do business.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get our hearts and, our wallets.
So 100%. And see, I'll tell you this, something that you've done right now, like before us coming on this show, you do your research on the person you're going to be interviewing. Okay, what they like, what's their background, etc., etc. So you have a decent amount of information about, and also in your own business. I mean, one of the reasons you're successful is because you need to do a lot of intel gathering,
of course, yeah,
in
preparation.
order to prepare people to know. But so what I want to say is, if people listening out there in Latin America, if you do not work with you, then you're in trouble, because she's the person who will be able to give you that kind of the right information, intel, in order to enter the market. Probably some people will say, oh no, I can just do it by myself.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Especially for someone who's been on the ground for a long time.
That's a very big
understands the culture.
misconception.
Exactly. So you would be able, and it's not about giving information, it's nuances. There's certain nuance, because you are the best person to read the room.
Yeah.
You would know when you're talking in the meeting,
I
if
know
they take
both
you with you.
cultures.
Yes, you know both cultures. You would know whether that person, even if they're smiling, like the local person,
Yeah.
whether they're happy, whether they actually get it, or they just want to be kind and hospitable, finish the coffee, and then you're gone, then you never hear from them again.
Exactly.
So that's the benefit of working with someone like you.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to again,
And there is
to avoid
something
mistakes,
else
is that.
also, because that happened, because I'm here for like 14, 15 years, I know you for a long time. So we build this relationship, we build this trust. If you encounter someone from Brazil saying that they are everything and they are the top, you're going to ask me, hey, Lud, are they really what they're talking
Yeah.
about? And I know the history not only in Brazil, but also here. So a company coming from Brazil, like, hey, I was approached by this investor. I know the whole history
Yeah.
where people navigated here and there. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And I think that having people around is actually the right connections to reach to the right people in
Yes.
the market,
I
right?
agree. 100%.
Because it's a chain, it's a
Yeah.
network, it's collaboration. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is definitely a misconception that people
100%. So that would
need to
be
have
my
in
answer
mind.
in terms of what is the biggest mistake people make.
Yeah.
And how they could fix it.
Yeah. But a person, like a founder that is like, have the values in the right place, wants to come here, but doesn't know the market, is understanding the market along the
Yes.
way and so on.
Yeah.
There is a kind of like a mental toolkit that needs to be in place. Because as you know, being an entrepreneur is a task by itself.
Yeah.
And expanding the business to new markets is a bigger task of itself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What would be like 3 tools that you would add to this mental toolkit for founders?
I love that you asked that question because in my book that you mentioned earlier, for those of you who don't know, I published a book called Just Read It, which is a self-help book for aspiring entrepreneurs. In the book, I mention, when you want to open a shop, they say, or whatever, so that kind of business, they say there's 3 rules: location, location, location. So you're telling me about this mental toolkit. Honestly, it's research, research, research. That's the answer to your question. The more you research, the more informed. The more informed, the better decisions you make. I think that, of course, and the research is not just on the market or on the individual or on everything else. It's also understanding like the macroeconomics, the geopolitical landscape as well.
Yeah.
So if you one thing that I would encourage people to understand, especially this region, the Gulf region, we are very unique, as in we're not like in other places. If you look at our countries in the Gulf, it's more or less like monarchies, and the decision is like centralized. They want to do something, they'll do it. They say we're going to do this project 2023 2030, that's what I want to say. So like 2030, the project will either finish on 2030 or 2029 or 2028.
Yeah.
Like not after. So this is the special thing about this country. And actually sometimes, by the way, a lot of the time they put those targets, they always try to beat it just to exceed people's expectations. So you look, and then it makes even better headlines.
A surprise, a positive surprise than a negative one.
100%. So that's what they do. And a lot of things are ready. They just, for them, for the government, it's just about a flick of a button for most of the time. For them to get the workforce to do things and make it happen overnight, they can do things very, very fast. So that's what I want investors and businesses that want to come to this market to understand and believe in that. Like have faith in the leadership of these countries, especially in the Gulf. It's a whole different ball game. Like they and the relationships that the UAE and the Gulf countries have done with neighboring countries in different continents, whether it's in Africa, Europe, Asia, is so special because if you look at some countries, they call them like startup nations. The UAE, I say, is a scale-up nation.
Yeah.
So this is where you can scale your business.
Yeah.
So
many people think that by coming to the UAE, they're actually entering the Middle East, and maybe Middle East, for any reason, it's not yet part of their plans. But they don't understand that this is a global hub.
Exactly.
If you see all the exhibitions here, you have 130 pavilions from different countries.
Yeah.
200 nationalities attending these events.
That's true.
So you come here to do global business.
Yeah.
And that's the scale up part.
Exactly.
Right?
And so on the scale up topic, the interesting thing is you have some major entities between, let's say if you look at the UAE, between Abu Dhabi and Dubai that already own or operate a lot of different projects around the world, whether it's oil refineries in Brazil, whether it's the ports, whether it's banks, whether it's so many different things. And between sovereign wealth funds, family offices, or even normal companies like DP World or Mubadala,
Yeah.
they or ADNOC, they own and run things, even overseas. So actually, if anything, you still have to come here. So even if you don't do the project here, you work with the entities from here for projects, even maybe back in your hometown.
Exactly. You leverage your business hometown in your home country by being here, by connecting, by doing strategic partnerships, by getting the innovation that comes here, because the whole world is looking at the Middle East right now.
Exactly.
Right. So, and UAE is super well placed
Yeah.
with all the infrastructure for business
Exactly.
and innovation.
This is where the souk
So
is
you
at.
get the best out of the world here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the souk.
Samba Souq.
Samba
I
Souq.
need to create a like. Da-da-da.
You have to have like a whatever a jingle. They call it a jingle. You need a jingle. Yeah.
For sure. So definitely, yeah, I think that people need to realize, and the whole reason why we're doing this podcast is we need to bring this to people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they cannot see by themselves. They are totally immersed in their business, in their countries. But reality nowadays is we cannot stay in one place anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And from this, I want to jump into timing. Needless to say,
100%.
the speed of
Oh
this
my God.
country.
Yeah.
And people still are missing the boat when it comes to timing.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk to a chocolate brand, for instance, from another country,
Mm-hmm.
then 2 years down the line, you know, that you start engaging, Dubai created
Yeah.
the top brand globally for chocolate, you know, like
Exactly.
the chocolate, Dubai chocolate.
Yeah, 100%. You know, on the timing again is almost connected to what I said earlier on the dates and timeline that the UAE has mentioned on a lot of different things. So whatever business you come from, whether you are in chocolate, okay, let's say chocolate. Now that we brought this example, the UAE already stated how the population is going to grow year on year. Like they said, between 5 to 10% year on year for the next, God knows, 5, 6, 7
And you
years
have the D33 agenda.
D33, you have, I don't know, 2071.
Yeah.
So you already know with all of these targets what they're going to do, how many people they expect to move, and how many people are even going to be traveling through, for instance. Like now, what's making the headlines is how they're going to shut down the Dubai airport and moving everything to Al Maktoum International Airport. So you already know the size of that airport and how many people are going to be coming there. If anything, let's say if it's a chocolate, you don't even need to open anything outside of the airport. Just open a shop inside that airport and you're done.
You're done.
Yeah, if they're expecting 100...
Traffic comes to you, you don't even need to go after
exactly.
them.
24 hours too. It's 100 million people they're expecting to go through every year, over 100 million in that airport. What else do you need?
Exactly.
So you're going to have both local consumers and international consumers just transiting through Dubai.
Yeah.
So that's an example I would give to a chocolate manufacturer if you had.
For sure, for sure. Let me see. Okay. I was like so involved, I forgot to read the other question.
No, it's okay. And I told you, I think I already kind of connected a lot of the different questions and the answers like I foresaw, and I was like, I'll just put them together.
Yeah. But now, like, okay, so we're talking about companies overseas coming to the UAE. Your experience until now, in your whole journey of like going to other markets.
Yes.
Do you have any tips on the challenges that you have faced and how to overcome them?
So the craziest thing is after all of those different businesses, the business that did succeed was the consulting business, and I set it up in the States. I set it up first in the US, and the only challenge really that I saw was tax. Like I never paid tax. We never had taxes here. So there was no corporate tax. There was no whatever. So like that for me was like something different and I had to learn.
Yeah.
But if I tell you more around, I think opportunities is, I found a niche. Like I was like, okay, I understand what is the value proposition I can provide to the businesses that are looking to do business back here in the UAE, and I targeted a certain segment of people, certain kind of businesses, and so I found, and I think that's what I try to tell people, like first try to find that niche, and then of course you can grow from there. But then when you know exactly what you can offer, then fine. Because honestly speaking, there's millions of consulting businesses. There's so many different, so what sets you apart?
Exactly.
And every single time, over and over again, you just have to know one thing. Everybody has a unique selling proposition. Something. It could be from the way that you speak. It could be maybe you speak 7 languages. Maybe it's you have a very, very unique sort of like circle or your network. For instance, like maybe your network is literally with all the ministers. Like you would be the only person who has you can pick up the phone, you get any minister you want. So somebody will have some kind of a unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
So focus on that to add value to the businesses that you want to work with. And I think, sometimes the challenge is people set their own boundaries and limitations. They assume that the market is not enough. Podcast. Today, I read on the news that the last year, the podcast industry made $7.3 billion. Even the podcast industry
and even
didn't
the place
expect
we are
exactly.
is doing so well,
Yeah,
right?
it's doing so well. So don't assume that a certain market or industry is saturated. Just go for it and you'll find it. So for me in the US, why it worked, because my very good friend of mine, and he's a mentor, his name is Mamadou Abusar. And Mamadou told me, he's like, Omar, do you know what's the size of the US economy? I was like, what? He's like, it's $40 trillion. Like, I never thought of it. He's like, it's 40 trillion. Think about it. Not a billion or 2 billion or 40 billion, 4 trillion. He's like, you do not need to go anywhere. He's like, you can make all your money just over here.
Yeah. And people still say
like, the country's
saturated.
got 400 million people or whatever. He's like, you could do anything here. And people love to spend. Americans love spending.
And you know what? 15 years ago, when I came, everyone said like, oh, you find everything from the world in Dubai, in the UAE.
Yeah. No.
Now, things didn't stop coming, so many new businesses coming every day.
Yeah. Yesterday, again, I follow like economic news all the time. Randy's Donuts, which is one of the most popular donut companies in the States since the 1950s, is opening in Dubai.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Randy's Donuts is coming here. Like we already have Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, and every other donut under the sun brand is here. But now Randy's Donuts wants to come and get people.
Yeah, I saw also from what you published that the burger chain from US, I
In and
forgot
out.
the name. In and Out.
Yeah, they were here.
Yeah,
they did that
How
thing.
come we don't have In and Out? That's like so obvious.
So
Coming from the US.
So many people, like, just last year, Chipotle came, which is everybody loves Mexican food, and Chipotle was in the States. I remember that people love it. So yeah, there's always going to be, there's a market for so many things. And you have to remember this country itself is growing. It is, so there are more people coming. There are more neighborhoods, more communities coming. I mean, I cannot drive in Dubai today. I don't remember any time I get in my car and I'm from here that I don't turn on Google Maps.
True.
Every single day, I have to have Google Maps on.
Yeah.
I can't go even to like my mom's house without trying to find like a quicker way to get to my mom because I know there's going to be like a traffic or some road or some junction.
I felt I was in São Paulo the other
There
day.
you go. Yeah.
With the traffic, I was like, wow, this country is growing.
There you go. Yeah.
Very good. So, quick question that is more like light and fun.
Okay.
How do you think the UAE can be more Brazilian?
Honestly, I feel like now there probably is. I think maybe one thing, we should probably have a carnival. There should be like a carnival
but we
here.
do.
We do. Well, there you go. See,
Brazilians know that we do.
Okay,
the parties all the time.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, I love. I know that you're going to ask me this question, and I want to tell you something. We were already Brazilian growing up. You ask any Emirati.
Oh, soccer.
Any Emirati.
Yeah.
All of us. We all had Brazilian shirts growing up. All of us, we were, for me, of course, I mean, Pele and whatever was my father's generation. Mm-hmm. But I loved everybody from like Romario, Ronaldo, Dunga, all these guys. I grew up with that dream team.
That was the dream team. That's true.
Was it 94? Whatever, that World Cup team. Yeah, I mean, I remember when they lost like in 98 or something, we cried like babies.
Devastated.
We were like, we were going to lose our minds. So for us, and I'm telling you, till now, yes, there are all these other teams, like European teams that are making headlines in the World Cup. Still, most people here still want to vote for Brazil before any other team. So look,
inshallah, I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully.
We need.
No. Hopefully now you've got like Rafinha and you've got all these guys.
We always have like talents for sure. It's And I'll tell you something, like in Brazil, my family, I have my cousins, and I learned like how to celebrate soccer with them.
Yeah.
They were nuts,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with the regional teams.
Yeah, yeah,
And then when I came to Dubai, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Every time that I used to watch it, it was giving me anxiety.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm going to last that long
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I continue this way. And then eventually I kind of like, I'm just going to watch the World Cup.
Yeah.
But when I do, and getting my friends
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
I watched the
Yeah, yeah.
7-1
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Was not fun at all.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't care that much about soccer,
Yeah.
If I'm in front of
I know.
the
Yeah.
match, I go nuts
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. No,
so
no.
I think it's in the blood as
It
well.
is 100%. And I'll tell you this, Lud, like the other thing, another example. Okay, so the football, I mean, that's like the easy one. But I'll give you something that maybe you don't know.
Yeah.
I used to work at Abu Dhabi municipality, and I was the head of Abu Dhabi beaches. Believe it or not, we actually benchmark our beach with Ipanema.
Amazing.
We were looking at the urban plan of how they did that in Brazil versus what we could do with the Corniche in Abu Dhabi. Because if you just think about the way that the beach looks, the beach, how
Yeah,
it
it's
transitions
like
to the urban and the city and everything else. So like, you know, the
have
buildings
like
and
a semicircle. That's true. And
So,
Rio in
yeah,
Ipanema,
and Rio.
Leblon, Copacabana is like that.
Yeah. And even with Sao
Wow.
Paulo, looking at like the mobility, because you guys are like, I mean, I think the public transport there is like
very
one of the
good,
best.
yeah.
So we're looking at that, trying to model against that from Brazil to here. So
But
they are.
this is how it should be done,
These are
right?
things, yeah,
You
yeah.
look at the world, see what's best out there, get prepared, and execute.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what people like when they're coming from abroad, they should be doing as well.
Exactly.
That's the best lesson,
And another thing is, I think what really made it popular, I mean, here for us, Arabs are addicted to coffee.
Yes.
And nobody walks into a coffee shop doesn't say they want Brazilian beans. Like everybody loves Brazilian beans.
Yeah.
Because Brazilian beans, as opposed to beans, like let's say if I have coffee, if you have like Ethiopian or if you have Kenyan beans, or they are sometimes too bitter, too strong.
They are.
Brazilian
some
are sweeter.
acidity in the end, right?
But Brazilian is amazing because most of us, we drink our coffee with milk.
Yeah.
So Brazilian beans coupled with milk, it tastes like you're having a nice cup of hot chocolate. It tastes like that. It's like nice, and
Yes.
it's got a very good flavor. So there's a lot already. I mean, this part is already Brazilian in a way.
That's true. So
The
happy
samba's
with this.
already there. You don't
The
have to
samba
worry.
is there. The souk is there.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
yalla.
yeah, exactly. 100%.
Omar, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for
It was
having
so
me.
much fun. I knew it would be fun, I was so relaxed. I was it's Omar. It's going to be amazing.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm honored, and honestly, shout out to all the Brazilians in the UAE and in Brazil. Please do come here and
Yeah.
enjoy the UAE. I need to go to Brazil, so it's not just
You're going to
one
be
way.
as popular as Bruninho. Have
I
you heard
will.
of that?
Yeah,
Bruno
yeah,
Mars?
Hopefully,
Yeah,
inshallah.
yeah,
I look
very
forward to
cool.
going to your beautiful country.
Yes.
Thank you for
And when
having
you
me.
go,
Yeah.
we're going to feed you.
Oh,
You're going
thank
to
you.
try all the best exotic fruits,
Done.
juices.
Done. I look forward
Like,
to
I don't
it.
know if you eat like junk food and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, of
but
course. I'll eat all
we're
of
gonna
it.
feed you,
Don't worry.
don't
I'm on
worry.
holiday. There's no restrictions. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
you.
for having me.